You're listening to From the Midlands, the stories of people making a difference across the region. Our presenter is Gail Downey.
On this episode of From the Midlands, we'll be hearing from a Warwickshire business owner whose faith in British heritage, manufacturing and design has led to his product being sold in 45 countries, including China. His product, the bicycle. Adrian Williams from Pashley in Stratford-on-Avon, welcome.
Hello, thank you, Gail.
I have to ask, first of all, how have you managed to sell bicycles to the kingdom of the bicycle, China?
England really led the world with bicycle production. And so, yes, the Chinese now produce a lot of bicycles, millions of bicycles. But actually, what they like is the tradition of where the bicycle sort of came from. And of course, the bicycle originated with the Rover safety bicycle in Coventry. And England has this beautiful heritage of the bicycle making and design. And so the Chinese actually love the fact that they can find one of the last surviving original sort of Midlands makers of bicycles still going and still producing bicycles that it made very similar, to what it made 100 years ago.
And as you said, you are the last surviving bicycle manufacturer here in the UK. Does that sadden you?
We're the last of the original Midlands makers. Now there's only a handful left in England. 98% of bicycles that are bought in the UK actually come in boxes now, largely from the Far East. And which is a great shame, really. But what's lovely to see is that there are now some small businesses, some frame builders sort of starting to come back into bicycle making. So that's great to see.
And your design, manufacture, innovation, all of that is done here in Stratford.
Yeah.
Many businesses decide to offshore, have the production, the factories overseas. Why have you kept it here?
When I arrived at Pashley about 31 years ago now, the mountain bike was all the rage, and also offshoring was all the rage. I think I'm right in saying that there's probably about 2.5 million jobs that were offshored from British manufacturing, and that is what really people were thinking they should be doing with Pashley. I've always loved the whole process of design, development, manufacture, and I think it's a wrong move, because then what is that business at the end of the day? It just becomes a brand without any real authenticity or anything, and you become detached from the making of the product. The designers would become detached from that. Yeah, this is why I sort of stepped in and eventually arranged the buyout of Pashley, because I wanted to show that even though maybe at the time Pashley wasn't making mountain bikes, wasn't on trend as such, that the business could survive, could move forwards. And to do that, it needed to innovate, it needed to find new products, new markets to go into, etc. And that's what we've been doing. And fortunately, we're here 30 years later, and it's because we have stuck to our knitting, and it's because of our authenticity that we're supplying now to around 45 countries worldwide, because we are a genuine maker, with an authentic heritage. And that's what people are buying into.
And there are three sides to the business, aren't there? Just explain that.
Yeah, so from the outset, Rath Pashley, the founder, in 1926, he said that, right, I'm not going to go into mass volume production. That's going to be for others. I'm going to work in the niches of the bicycle industry. And particularly, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to work with really high quality consumer products, to you and I, through bicycle shops, etc. But importantly, he also said, I'm going to go into making bikes for industry and commerce, for business use, work bikes. And to this day, we have done both those things. So we supply business to consumer, but we also supply business to business. And in fact, business to business is a really important part of what we do and a big contributor of our top line as such. It's interesting because when people look at Pashley, they see these beautiful bikes that we do with the loop frame, the wicker basket, the Brooks leather saddles, and yes, they are beautiful and I love them. But behind Pashley, you've got this business to business going on. So when I mention to people that we have supplied Royal Mail for over 40 years, they will remember the sort of red postie bikes and things. And we supply over 250 business customers. And this could be, for site bikes. You've just seen, as we've walked around, some bikes going into industry for large sites. Today we've heard from Oxford University Press that they want some more bikes for riding around, delivering post packages there. But we also supply hotels, many hotels, for customers to use bikes, etc. So broad range. We supply to places like oil refineries in far-flung places like Kazakhstan. It's most extraordinary business. But about 2015 time, with Royal Mail deciding that they wanted to go over to sort of trolleys and vans rather than postie bikes as such, bicycle delivery, we made the strategic decision to work on bike share products and therefore joined with Serco to develop the next generation bike for London, the Santander bike share bikes.
As the...
Well, I mean, yes, they were known as Boris, but he shouldn't take the credit for it, really.
Santander bikes.
Yeah, Santander bikes, yeah. And so we developed a new bike for London. We developed it in 18 months from 100% new product. Should have taken us 3 years, but we were asked to do it quickly. This transformed the business, increased our turnover, but it also led to us then innovating, seeing that where the future was in this particular area. And so we developed, over the last few years, our own hire bike, and this has smart technology on it. So the bike itself is communicating with the back office through an IoT device. And rather than needing, as in London, the docks to be wired under the ground, etc. So in London, it's the bikes are not intelligent, the dock is. Whereas with Transport for West Midlands, for example, where our bikes are used, the bikes are the intelligent thing, and the docks are not. And they can be moved around to suit the needs of the users as such and positioned accordingly. So that has been incredibly innovative for the team here. Fantastic new areas that we're going into. I mean, I didn't think I'd be talking sort of IoTs, sort of 5 years ago, but that's fantastic. So that's one area and growing very quickly for the business as bike share is becoming so important across the world now.
And just to be clear, the West Midlands bikes, as with the Santander bikes in London, they're electric, aren't they?
Some of them are electric, some of them are non-electric. So there's both. And there's a mix generally in the schemes of both types. But yes, we do have an electric version in Transport for West Midlands that we developed. So that's one new area of the business since 2015 that's transformative for us. And then whilst that's been going on, we've also seen the growth of the final delivery and cargo market, because of course in this world we have to keep internal combustion engined vans out of cities and towns. And so we saw that massive growth potential coming through there. And of course, because we've been involved in this since 1926, what we needed to do was actually bring new product to the customer. And so we set about, over the last few years, developing quite a novel tilting tricycle. So the concept being that it rides like a bicycle but has the stability of a tricycle, and therefore can be used, yes, to actually carry a whole raft of different products. So post packages, councils are using it at the moment for gardening, people take them around. We've just supplied to a lovely enterprise in Manchester where they go to schools to teach them skateboarding. And so, of course, the actual riders don't need a license or anything like that. And so the youngsters, they don't drive cars. They can go to the schools and demonstrate, and work with the school children in that respect. So there will be a lot of different tradespeople that use the product. But particularly in the goods and package delivery area, that'll be increasing in London, and hundreds, if not thousands, of these products will come into the marketplace. And that makes a big difference for us turnover-wise, because they're, say, around £8,000. And so that makes a big difference, from our
And they're not small. You very kindly showed me around the factory. And these cargo bikes are really not small. It almost looks like a kind of mini van attached to the bike, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So they are smaller than a van, which means that they can go in between the traffic and things. So they're sort of width of a motorbike with panniers as such. So you're not being held up in traffic queues and things like that. And of course, there should be less vehicles on the road anyway. But you can weave in and out of the traffic, and you can also use the cycleways, etc. And you can go into pedestrianised areas because it will go through the bollards, etc. Fit through the bollards. So it will do the delivery function, but it won't be held up or constrained in the same way vans are.
No, they're half the size, aren't they? Half the size in length and almost half the size in width, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guessed it right.
And do people have to be strong to be able to ride these, or is because it has an electric function?
That's right. So our testing, we've done thousands of miles of testing. Yes, whilst we might have one of our welders actually helps with the testing, and I think he's the fittest person we've got in the factory. But no, we've tested on all kinds of terrains. And the power assist function, because it is electrically assisted, is very useful. So all types of rider can ride it, and the seat adjustment and the adjustment in the actual configuration of the tricycle allows for that. Yeah.
Have you had a call from Amazon yet?
Actually, we have. Yeah, it'd be good to follow through with that. But we've also had a lot of interest from all sorts of different businesses, because whilst we can see where the market is going, sometimes businesses take a bit of time to actually get out of the mentality of using the vans and current delivery methods. And of course, if you go to Copenhagen or into Germany or other places, you will see a plethora of these kind of products being used every day. So in this country, we're getting there. We're getting there.
And I guess because a number of cities and towns are looking at, no car zones, no van zones, and obviously we've got ULEZ and all of that. Yeah, no, absolutely. And what's lovely is that you're now getting this crossover where parents are starting to think, well, actually, do we need a car? Do we need a second car? And certainly second cars are now being replaced by bicycles, tricycles, which carry shopping, carry children, etc., etc. So there's a growing crossover between the carrier bikes and normal sort of consumer cycles as such. Surprisingly, where we think this is a business kind of application, we're finding consumers actually saying, no, actually, I would like this myself. So that's really interesting. And of course, we see many of these trikes with cargo, as you say. It could be people, but also food vendors, particularly.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we, again, have quite a history with the Stop Me and Buy One vending tricycle.
The ice cream.
Yeah, the ice cream.
Not cargo, I don't know what you call it.
So, yeah, we've supplied that for many years. But we've also supplied our bikes and trikes for food delivery, either with trailers or with a carrying capacity on the back of them. And so, yes, that's an increasing demand, for one area of our business. And at the same time, of course, it gives publicity because they're branded. And so we just supplied, Brewers, really, the paint people into London, because they get not only the advantage of local delivery, but they get this lovely sort of big advertising board, which is the box on the back of the tricycle. So you get good publicity with what you're doing and showing your environmentally friendly credentials.
Do you still get excited when you see one of your bikes on the road?
Yes, I do. And so I'll give you a case in point. I was coming out of Stratford-upon-Avon a few months ago, and there was somebody coming in the opposite direction, and it just caught me. I just thought, wow, that looks nice. Realised it was one of my employees coming in the opposite direction, So yeah, I with what we do, what's important is that the bicycle has to look really lovely, and there has to be this aesthetic about it where you're drawn to it, but then the quality of the production and the componentry has to match it, and the functionality, in that what we want is people to love the product and keep the product and use it for many years and then pass it on. That's really important, and not to just buy a product every year or whatever. And so the timeless designs, even that we're still making these bikes that we produced, almost 100 years ago, but we've also got some, more contemporary sort of products that we're bringing into the marketplace. And it's really, really lovely. I love being involved in the whole sort of concept creation of the product, working with the design development team, with the young, brilliant sort of designers that we've got, working on the sort of CAD design. And then when you see the product, the first prototype, as we saw earlier, we saw an electrically assisted consumer product, which hopefully will come to the market before too long. And when you see it for the first time, you think, this is really lovely. Yeah. And as long as you have that feel about it, then hopefully other people will like it too.
You talked about companies going offshore with their production. Here, everything, as you say, absolutely is done in-house. We met one of your employees who's been here for 47
Sam.
years.
Yeah.
What makes people stay here? Because a number of long-term employees, aren't there?
Yeah, I think there's something about the actual craft, and that you're producing something which you can be proud of. And because we make such a varied range of products, 160 products or variants thereof, it's not boring, it's not repetitive. You're not on a mass production sort of assembly line where you sort of have a tendency to fall asleep because it's so boring. Everything is different. As you've walked around today, you've seen that there's so much variation. And I've given up actually sort of walking around ahead of a visitor to figure out what's going on, because it can vary, but just in the hour as such. I think it's that. I think it's the fact that we care about our people, our employees, as we care about our suppliers, as we care about our customers. I think that's really important. We're a sort of family company. If there's difficulties at all, we try and put our arm around our employees and help out, etc. We do what we're meant to do, I think, as a business. Yes, it's important to make money because that's how businesses survive, but it's not the be-all and end-all. it is also, looking after the whole ecosystem surrounding the business. Employing people locally, encouraging schools to come in and see the business, so that there's a new generation of hopefully engineers coming through. And in this country, what really gets my goat is the fact that we tend to think of engineering as still being, from the Industrial Revolution and the blast furnaces of Coalbrookdale and things, where engineering is an incredibly exciting area to sort of come into. Think of space technology that's happening and all these different things. We are incredible innovators and engineers, and we need more, coming through. And if we can encourage that by bringing local schools, the youngsters in to see what we're doing, then that must be a great thing. And of course, if our employees talk to their family, friends, relatives about what they're doing, they can be proud of that too, and that's really important to us. Yeah.
You've come in as an innovator, designer, and obviously as a business person. 1926 to 2026.
Yeah.
What's the next 100 years, do you think, in terms of the bicycle?
Well, we're working on it. I mean, you've seen a bit of that today. I think the bicycle is going to be around for a lot longer, and variants of it. Hopefully, the younger generation coming through, what we're hoping to see now with them is that they start to recognise that ownership of a product should be for a long term, and that we move away from this disposable kind of attitude that we've had, and that they understand that companies like us are socially responsible. We're trying to do our bit for the environment and for the future, of the planet. So I've got great faith in the younger fraternity coming through, and they will ask the questions. They will ask the questions about where this is made. Have you done this? Have you done that? Are you thinking about this, etc.? And hopefully what we come through with, they will find really interesting and useful for them, and as they grow older, then with their families, etc., transporting their shopping, their children, etc., around the place.
Adrian Williams from Passion Bikes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to From the Midlands, a Whirlwind production. If you've enjoyed listening and would like to sponsor this series of podcasts, details are available on our website at fromthemidlands.co.uk.